Right. We can go ahead and get started. Um, I'd like to welcome everybody to today's spotlight for April Drake. She is the managing principal at HDR. She is the past president of AIA Northern Virginia, and she is a Hampton University alumna. Our spotlight series is designed to help elevate our members and minority architects within our profession and inspire our membership. We're excited about today's conversation, or it's really an opportunity for April to share her journey, and we'll also allow for time for Q&A. So we ask that you hold your questions until the end, but also keep in mind that you can put questions in the chat that will get answered towards the end. Yeah, so with all that being said, I did want to, I'm excited about today. April is a good friend of mine. I would consider a mentor. I got to meet her several years ago at Architecture Exchange East, and we've crossed paths on volunteering, and I look up to her. I'm proud of her, and I'm excited to hear her story today in Women's History Month. So with all that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you, April.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. Thanks so much for having me today. I really have enjoyed, the journey that I've had with you over the last couple of years as well. So it's nice to hear those things. I'm very humbled by those compliments. But know that I look to you as well for guidance in this profession. So again, thanks for having me. It looks like we have a nice group here, but also a smaller group than I was expecting. I love small groups because I am not a big talker. So I know Ian told you all to hold your questions until the end, but please feel free to put them in the chat. And I may even pause at different points throughout the conversation to see if there's something that you want me to go into deeper or explain further, just so that it is, more conversation based instead of you just listening to me talk at you maybe for the next 30 minutes. I'm also on this journey of 50-minute meetings in the hour. So I'm going to try my best to get you all out of here around 12:50 so that you have a few minutes to have a bio break or get some water or something before your 1 o'clock calls. So that's something that I'm really pushing for in our office now, is to try to limit those 1 hour calls to about 50 minutes so that we all have time in our day to take a well-deserved mental break in between those different meetings and calls. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I will say that Ian did call and remind me on Monday about this. And so I have a few slides that I've put together from different presentations and different places I went. So I was doing the Riding the Vortex panel at NOMA convention in October. So I have a few slides from that, few slides from just being AIA. And so I will tell you, they're from all over the place. So you'll see different formatting on some of the different slides. So please don't judge me. I know that they're not all consistent all the way through, but appreciate your grace and your patience, as it has been a very rough week. And so we'll get into some of that towards the end of the conversation and journey, as my role has changed here in the last 8 months, which have led to me having different roles and responsibilities and not the same life that I had previously before taking on this new role. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So just bear with me for a second. All right. So this is just a slide. Ian already had something up, so I just wasn't sure what he would have, but I am the 2024 AIA NOVA past president. So last year I was president. That was quite a journey to take on that role. I don't know if many of you know the AIA structure. So you start out as secretary, and then you move into treasurer, then vice president, then president and past president. Then I also served on a board for a couple of years. So it has been 7+ long years of being within that board and then the executive committee. So I must say I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I am very excited about that. But also happy to see that it's going to continue on in good hands. So I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Okay, don't know why that is doing that. Hold on. Bear with me. All right, so I'm just going to go and start at the beginning of my journey, and it even starts a little bit before this timeline. So this timeline was done in around 2019, so you'll see that it ends with what's next for 2020. But before this journey of even going to college, I actually, in high school, not everyone knows exactly what they want to do in life, but I had the privilege of knowing a little bit about the direction that I want to go in. And so I actually went to vocational school for 2 years when I was still in high school, where I learned the foundations of drafting, some engineering, and then AutoCAD and architecture. So that was actually a program that was part of my high school. So I'm from the Virginia Beach area, so I've grown up in Virginia all my life, and I had that program there. You went away from your high school and joined others from the other surrounding Virginia Beach high schools. And that's also where they had others. Some went for to be a mechanic, some went to be an HVAC tech. That's where they also had cosmetology. And so within that vocational school, there were different programs that all of us would attend. And so I got to have a teacher who had a background in architecture and really get to see what it would be like to be in this profession to a certain extent. So that was actually where it started. My sister and I always joke now, that it started back in the 1900s. And so I actually graduated high school in 1999 and then went ahead and went to Hampton University, as Ian stated. I applied to several schools. I would tell you that in the beginning, Hampton was not my first choice. I really wanted to go away to school, and being from Virginia Beach, there's only a tunnel between the Virginia Beach area and Hampton, Virginia, and I wanted to go out of state. But my mom was very adamant about me going to an HBCU, and I don't regret that decision. And so now I bleed blue and, Hampton University. And had a great time, some lifelong friendships that were built there. And so it's just been an amazing journey there. Our school was Bemis Laboratories. So that fit at the top screen. All of our classes have names. So I am an Ogre is our class name, which is the longest running class name within Hampton's history. There are other class names too. Quintessence and Onyx are the other two. The senior class always passes down their name to the freshman class. So there are only 3 class names at any given time. Even though I went to school early 2000s and there are a lot of physical photos out there, someone went ahead and scanned or took a picture of photos and posted them on Facebook. So I know this bottom photo is me. And I know this middle photo is me as well. It's like I said, lifelong friendships. I still speak with all 4 people or all 3 people in this photo. This individual here lives in the area, so I'm with her quite often. This is considered one of my best friends. This top photo, they tell me that it's me, but I'm not quite sure that I believe them. But based on the facial expression, it definitely could be. So these are the journey of being in architecture school and being asleep in the architecture. This is my desk, and being asleep at my desk trying to catch a break and building models. I loved building models. When we were in school, I would spend any time in the wood shop that I can building models. That was before 3D printers and things of that nature, where we were actually going there and building things with balsa wood, and just sometimes going to Home Depot and getting plywood and all those different things to build our models. So I actually am, privileged to work with other Hampton alums. So that is Marina and Kelly with me. They were in architecture school ahead of me at Hampton University, and Callie actually was in interior design school as well, which was adjacent to our building and our department at that time. Since then, interior design was phased out at Hampton, but it was nice to know that we did have that program. I believe Howard still has that program as well, but Hampton did at one time, and so Callie is a graduate of that program. After going to college, I did a small stint going to grad school. That wasn't my thing, so I went ahead and went back home. And I will always mention that to people because I think it's very important that if you start a journey and you realize that it's not quite for you, it's always okay to turn around and, you know, find out what exactly is for you. And that's what I did. I found out that grad school wasn't for me. I took a risk, but I went ahead and turned around and said, okay, you know, that's okay that it didn't work out, that it didn't graduate with that master's degree. But I still have a bachelor's of architecture and I can still do so much with it and I can still move on. And so that's what I did. I went ahead and went back home to Virginia Beach and started working at Livis Group Architects in Norfolk, Virginia. I had done several internships there. And so they were looking for a full-time person. And so I was able to go there and work. They were a small minority firm at that time, only 14 people. They did a lot of work at Hampton University and a lot of other HBCUs as well. That 14-person firm was definitely more like a family. And so it allowed you to ask questions, make mistakes. Yes, you were going to have to fix your mistakes, but it allowed you to do that in a safe space. Where I know I feel like here sometimes in a larger firm, people don't feel like they can ask those questions or make those mistakes. And so we try to make sure that we provide that safe space, even within the project team, which is a lot smaller, to make sure that they know that they can ask those questions, because it's so important to ask those questions, learn from your mistakes, be able to fix them, and know that that is part of the journey, you know, within the profession. Nobody gets it right the first time. So while I was at Livis, I worked on several dorms. As you can imagine, working for a lot of different schools at the time, higher education schools. Summertime was our big time of year. So it was very busy in the wintertime, creating drawings and doing permitting. And then from May until August, we were on site mostly all summer, you know, getting everything into through construction and trying to finish and wrap up everything before the students came back for class. One of the largest facilities that I worked on with the group was the new cafeteria or dining hall for them. And so that was very exciting to see them actually put this building on the water and actually be able to help detail certain aspects of this facility during my time. I did leave before we finished construction, but of course, being that it's on campus, I've been able to go into the building a few times and actually see how the finished project and the finished progress and everything has progressed, and see also how it has how it's wearing over the years, because I think that's also important to the finishes and everything that you pick, the design that you do. How does it stand up against, you know, wear and tear with students who are coming and going over the years? So this was just a great project to be a part of with that group. After a while, 6 years with the Livis group, I had started taking some tests with them, but then had decided that I was finally ready to move on and to move out of state. And so that's when I came to the Northern Virginia area in 2012. I wasn't quite licensed yet. Again, I had taken a few tests. I had even taken the lead exam first to try to get myself ready for the ARE, then taking a few tests. And I did that very quietly. People did not know I had even taken any tests until I think I had taken and passed 3 tests before I was open about what I was doing, because I was not a good test taker, and I was just very worried about, you know, not passing and then having to explain to people that I didn't pass. And, And now so I try to also keep that in mind when I'm asking others about their journey through licensure, that sometimes we can be a little intimidated or a little embarrassed about, what we may consider a failure. And I always just try to make sure that they know that the fact that you went into that testing center and to take the test, no matter if you pass or fail, you need to understand that that's an accomplishment within itself. And just to encourage them to do it again and keep going until they reach that point of passing all the exams. So please do the same thing. Any of you all who are licensed and know that journey is hard, and I'm sure many of you also did what I did and probably failed a couple along the way. So I know I failed too, and I share that story proudly in hopes of encouraging others to keep pressing forward when they've also encountered the same thing. So I came up and worked in a firm, IBI Group in Northern Virginia in 2012. I left that firm because they were doing the work that I wanted to do, but I also wanted to do more core and shell. And a project came in that was core and shell based, and I wanted to help lead that project with a few others in the office, and the opportunity wasn't provided to me. It was sent to another individual in the New York office. And so after that, I decided to start looking for another position. And I was even asked by one of the, I'll call them elders at the firm, if that was the reason why I was leaving, because I wasn't given the opportunity on that project, and was basically told that those opportunities on projects would not be allowed. They asked if that's why I was leaving, and I told them yes, and they completely understood and wrote me a very nice letter of recommendation. And so, when you find yourself up against a brick wall and you want to do something and that opportunity isn't going to allow it, it's time to move on. And after a couple of years, that's what I did with that group. Still have people over there that I keep in touch with. So it wasn't all bad. It was just that I wanted to do something more than what they were allowing. I did pass the AREs in 2013 and had already completed what they call IDP back then. I know it's AXP now. And so I became that officially a registered architect in November of 2013. And so that was so exciting. For those of you all have done it as well, it almost feels like your birthday or Christmas morning. And so it was several phone calls and celebratory toast and just an amazing, amazing experience. Volunteering for me, which I'll talk a little bit more about, it came later. It actually came after I became licensed. I know several of you have probably been doing it since school or since coming into the profession, and I think that's awesome. I actually really found my place with volunteering once I moved to this area, Northern Virginia. Came across great individuals like Joanne Murray and Catherine Prigmore, who really let me know that, it can be very tough for women in this profession, and that they found, solace within each other. And so there were groups like Women in Architecture through Northern Virginia, AIA, that I joined, and really just found a group that, embraced me. And with that, I was able to start leading different events and programs that also were introducing young girls to architecture, helping Girl Scouts get STEM badges and things of that nature. And so it really became really cool to get to know them, and to also then become a part of that legacy that was helping to bring others into the profession. Also within that time, I started volunteering with NCARB as well. So after passing, I went to the AIA conference right after passing the ARE. And from there, I met a few people, and they were like, "Don't you want to volunteer with NCARB?" And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but sure." And from there, this was back before 5.0. And so one of the first groups that I volunteered with was actually mapping test questions over from the old 4.0 to the new 5.0. Since then, I started then doing case studies and writing other questions for the exams, then joined different groups like the examination committee, which they think strategically about what the ARE can become. So now I know that people are having more issues with taking the exam from your home, but that was a thought that came from committees years before COVID and years before it was actually implemented. And can you take your exam in your pajamas? And so that was a thought, and someone said, should you be able to do that? And so because they were already thinking about that and trying to do that way before 2020, that's why it was able to be implemented during that time, which I know has helped a lot of people become licensed, as the test centers were closed or didn't have that availability, or people just not being comfortable going out. So having those different types of volunteer and committees, you can really see how they shape the industry, as we move forward. And it's been very exciting to see some of those just random thoughts and ideas from different meetings truly come, to life. In 2015, I actually joined HDR, which is where I am now. I joined them as a project architect at that time. Since then, I've become a senior PA a few years later in 2018, and then now managing principal, which I'll get into in a few moments. I continue to volunteer so much during this time. Became the Women in Architecture Chair in 2016 to 2017, then joined the Board of Directors for AIA Northern Virginia in 2018, even became a recipient of the Emerging Professional Award for AIA Virginia in 2019. Also around that time, I believe it was 2019, I was the local DC keynote for the AIA Leadership Institute. And so that was actually very exciting and very intimidating to stand up in front of people and talk and have a presentation. I do wish I had more time. So I have always been probably one of those people, for some reason, that have been very busy. Always people have expected a lot of me on different projects as a project architect, a senior PA. I remember doing that presentation essentially on a plane on the way back from a client meeting. And so I think, when you have those opportunities, you have to try to find a way to prepare a little bit more. I'm still struggling with that. I can only give you as much advice as I can as far as what I would do differently, but know that it's always tough to get those things going when you have outside forces coming down on you, whether those are projects or family life. And so that was something that I wish I'd had a little bit more time to prepare for and actually get the point across. During that time, we talked about the missing middle and what was happening there due to the recession of 2008 all the way through 2010 and even into the 2012 era, and how that was impacting the profession and the people that were there, and how that created opportunity, but also created just this chaos of who was doing what and which direction could you move in. And it's still impacting us today as we realize that there are not enough people to fulfill certain gaps and roles within the profession, because those individuals either don't have the amount of expertise and years of experience that we had hoped they had, or they've left the profession because it was just too hard during those years and they went on to adjacent fields. And so we continue to have a gap that we're unable to fill during that time. Again, lecture, seminars, mentoring, reading, I do have a whole list of things that I've done, which I just keep that just more so for myself. But I did do this slide in 2019. I think I was doing this for a class at Howard University. And so it was 2019 and I was like, oh, 2020, what's next? And I don't think any of us knew, or I know none of us knew what 2020 was actually going to bring to us during that time. So before 2020 and 2018 or 2016 and beyond, I had done everything that we talked about on that slide. There's the young lady that I had said that I still hang out with now in the earlier picture. And so these are photos from the Women in Architecture, the keynote speaker at the DC Leadership Institute, the STEM event that I created for the Girl Scouts. We've done that a couple of times here and there, creating just different opportunities for them to learn about engineering and architecture. And then they get a STEM badge for that as well. So we did the spaghetti marshmallow challenge where you take the spaghetti and try to, and has to support a large marshmallow, and then your structure without falling over. We've done just so many things. I think I even created the first time a floor plan and had them cut out different pieces of it to figure out how they would, plan out their dream home. And so it's just been really exciting to do those different events. Hip Hop Architecture Camp, NCARB had sponsored them not too long before the pandemic. And that was an amazing experience to see those kids flourish. I was able to volunteer for 2 different days, once in the very beginning and then once towards the end. And it was great to see them flourish and come out of their shell over the course of the week. It was a little disappointing, some of them, for the ones who didn't get to participate or whose rap was not, lyrics were not selected for the end song, but we did have another fun activity to make sure that they continue to learn and also, have fun during that time while the others went to the studio. But it's still an amazing camp, and really look forward to seeing how that flourishes into different organizations and events over the course of the years. Also during 2020, I took up Legos. So I'm sure many of you tried to find different things to keep yourselves busy during that time period. Well, I was one of the few people in my office every day. I lived alone and I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. I just could not stay in there every day. Our office is built for 150 people and we only had 7 people in here. But during those times where it was, being at home on the weekends with nothing to do, I ended up picking up Legos as something as well. So now they're all over my house. And even my nephew is very surprised every time he comes over how many Legos that I have. And I have not stopped. So I still have several boxes that I have to complete as well. So that was my 2020 thing to do. Volunteering, as I said, you get into this a little bit more. So since 2020, at that time, I had no clue that I would go on to be a part of the executive committee for AIA Northern Virginia. So in 2020, I became secretary. I did run for the position unopposed, but and then became treasurer, vice president, president-elect, and then eventually president last year. I believe it was also announced that I was on the board for the professional engineers, land surveyors, interior design, and landscape architects for the state of Virginia. So I will tell you that was one of my original goals, was to be a part of that board for the state of Virginia. Everything that I had been doing, volunteering with NCARB, I really wanted to be on that board. I really wanted to really influence policy because I figured, or I thought that was where it all started. And, really being passionate about licensure and how you open up those doors for others. It starts with those policies that are made by each individual state. And so that was where I really wanted to go. Unfortunately, I had to resign in August of 2023 because I moved to the state of Maryland, and you have to be a resident of Virginia in order to be a part of that board. Even if your license is in Virginia, you still must be a resident of Virginia in order to be a part of that. But during that time period, I still had such a great time learning more about our policies in Virginia. And so I still know a lot about what's going on, still keep up with that group as best as possible, and can hopefully answer anyone's questions as well if you have any about Virginia and becoming licensed, especially if you have a license elsewhere or a degree that is, may not be accredited. I can, help talk you through some different options that you may have. And so that has always just been something I've been very passionate about, is helping people through those different steps of licensure and hoping that we can find a way for them to do that. The cost of schooling has gone up so much, and I realize that not everyone can go back to school for that extra year or extra 2 years to get that accredited degree. And so just know that there are options available to you, and I'm here to help you if you need some advice or just want to a springboard of someone to have some, think through some ideas. The other things that we talked about earlier are here as well. Also was invited to do the AIA Future Focus, so that was also exciting. And then as being president, we always had to write different letters. So every month, I always had to write a letter for our newsletter. So there are different things that they don't teach you in school, architecture school. When you go out and volunteer, you're getting all these different skills. You're having to write, you're having to lead meetings, you're having to deal with conflict resolution outside of your job. And so that is why I also push people to think about volunteering in different organizations. Get some of that experience with conflict resolution, with dealing with different personalities outside of your job. And then that way you get that experience and know how to deal with them a little bit better inside of your job. The job that pays you, the job that you want to actually keep or grow in, you're going to want to have had a little bit more experience with dealing with those issues in situations where, they are not make or break situations with your job, with your paycheck. We all have mortgage to pay, mouths to feed. And so we want to make sure that we're going outside of our office, have that community involvement, have those different individuals that we can connect with, grow with, network with, but also learn from. And whether that's in a positive or a negative way, we can always learn from our different interactions as well. So last year was a busy year. Last year I was president and was really just trying to stay focused in that, trying to understand what it meant to be president, what was my one initiative going to be, which was actually the website, which launched a couple of days ago. So we're very excited about that. And then this opportunity to become managing principal came up around March of 2023. And I was not going to apply for the position at all, because I was president of AIA Northern Virginia. I actually liked my job as a senior project architect. I was leading complex federal projects with teams of 50 plus people, sometimes that's the entire team, all the different engineers and everything. But I really enjoyed that. That was where I felt like I was really setting myself up for success. I was thriving. I was having a good time just being with my team, having a good time watching others succeed, giving them more and more responsibility and seeing what they did with it, and seeing how they were going to become the next project architect or senior project architect. And that's what really made me happy, was seeing that. And they, asked us, if I wanted to apply, and I said, I don't know. And then I went ahead and I did finally apply, and I went that route because I felt like if I could take that experience that I had from a project team and apply it to an entire office, that would be, I don't want to say enough, but that would be a great experience as well. I wanted to watch others succeed. I wanted to help others succeed more so, and to watch them, their expressions change, to watch how their movements change, to watch how they come to work differently when they are succeeding is just, I don't know, glorious to watch in a way. And I really get a kick out of it. It's really hard to, I think, put into words how it makes you feel when you know that you've truly helped someone. And you're not looking for any acknowledgement. You're not looking for anyone to celebrate you. You're just so happy for that person because you knew that they had a goal and a dream, and they've actually been able to accomplish it. And so I did apply for the position, interview, and was very surprised when they sent it my way, or told me that I would be the next managing principal for Arlington. It's been 8 months. It's been an amazing journey, but it's also been pretty complicated as well. One of the things I've learned is that I don't have anything tangible at the end of the day. You know, when right now as a senior project architect, end of the day, you have a set of specifications that you've written, some sheets that you've drawn, some, you know, other people have done some things. And then at the end of a 6 or 8 month period, you have a whole set of drawings to be able to show someone like, this is why I've been staying late. This is what me and my team have been doing. This is what we were working so hard, you know, to do for our client. And then at the end of maybe a couple of year period after that, you then have a building and you can show your family and you can say, hey, that's what we've been working on. And there's a building. And now at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I answered 50 emails. I created a great spreadsheet that is going to help me stay organized, or, you know, I answered all those different phone calls, or I made sure that someone got all their signatures. Like, it's a different life than what it was before. But nevertheless, I know that in time, as I get more organized, as I, you know, able to go through all the steps, it hasn't been a year, so I haven't even been through all the different steps that happen over the course of a year in this position. I know that I'll be able to make it my own, and I'll be able to support the office and support all the different teams here, and that I'll still, again, have that great feeling and what their accomplishments have been, and be able to join them in their celebrations. So I know that it will be a really good experience. These are just a couple of project photos. So this is our HDR Arlington office. When I first joined HDR in 2016 it was, or 2015 actually, we were moving offices and they asked me to help them with their office move. The drawings were done. They needed to get them through the final steps of permitting and then the construction administration. And so that was my job. And so that was joining a company and not knowing anyone, and then eventually having basically 120 not only new coworkers but clients at the same time, and having to please everyone along the way. I won't say that everyone liked me, but I think over the course of time they all realized what the job and what the goal was, and everyone has been very happy with our office in the end. We went from 6x6 and 8x8 cubicles and enclosed offices to basically a benching, open concept work environment. And so it was very different for everyone within that existing office who did come over with us back at that time. This is also another area of the office. That is me over off on the side, walking up the stairs. But this is our conference room, looking out to our library and then some of our workstations as well. So if you haven't had a chance to visit our office, maybe if you all want to host a meeting here, definitely welcome you. We have hosted several meetings over the course of the different years. So this is final project. This is a federal facility down in Augusta, Georgia, on the what is now the Fort Eisenhower installation, formerly known as Fort Gordon, but now Fort Eisenhower. This is the headquarters facility for a cyber center of excellence. This is one of the largest projects that I've worked on and I stamped. This is still under construction and what I consider my baby of projects. And even in this new role, I still keep up with this project, but very happy to have others who are supporting me as I answer the 50+ emails a day. Answer the 50+ emails a day. I probably receive 100+ emails a day, but I only able to answer so many in a given day. So I have others who are definitely able to continue on with the RFIs, submittals that have been coming through. But I do stay abreast of any different concerns, and we'll still step into a meeting if need be and go to site with the team as well. So that's been very, very exciting to stay with them through that. And there I am. So I had no idea I would talk so long, but that is where I will stop and then ask if you all have questions.
Oh, thank you, April. There's several questions in the chat, and even at the beginning of the chat, it looks like some folks had mentioned the years of their time at Hampton. I guess if they want to
Oh,
introduce themselves,
I
maybe.
see a ogre. I see
Yeah,
a ogre 19. I'm ogre 11. So I see a ogre 19 and a QT 11. Okay, contestant.
cool. So the first question it looks like is, did you get to use your model making skills after you graduated?
No, I did not. I never did again. And then all of a sudden, when the 3D model printing came into play, I felt inadequate because I was, someone who loved to use the true wood shop to build models to the point where now that I've finally got a townhouse, I'm actually going to be building a, workshop in my garage because I love to build things with power tools. And so that's what I'll be getting this summer to do some projects. But no, I didn't get to use them after graduation.
All right. What professional organization position has been the most meaningful, impactful, or rewarding for you?
Hey, Joy. I believe Women in Architecture through the AIA Northern Virginia chapter. That committee is where the first one that I joined here once I moved. So I moved here in 2012, and I knew, again, my good friend who was in those photos, she was already here. But I didn't know a lot of people at all, and I didn't know anyone really in the profession. Um, she's already had moved over to doing different things within the profession, so she wasn't truly involved in AIA. So she's like non-traditional architect, had never become licensed. So I wanted to try to find individuals and network with those who were licensed or who on that path to licensure. And so when I met Kathy Prigmore, they introduced me to so many other people, Melissa Daniel. It was so meaningful to meet them. And then like my entire friend group now is based on those women that I met at that time. And, I have accountability partners. You all saw, I think, Marina Peterson in the early photo as well. She's DC NOMA, but she also went to Hampton and she's in this area as well. And so just having her be a part of my life has just been the most meaningful, impactful.
The next question comes from Corey.
Hi, what is something that you wish you had learned sooner in your process?
Something I wish I had learned sooner: how to control my facial expressions. Um, and I see some laughter
I'm laughing
for
because I'm
those who
not
have
good
the
at it.
cameras on.
Yeah.
I'm still working on it, but it sounds like, oh, that's something funny, but no, especially in this role that I have now, controlling your facial expressions is something that it's a skill that that you have to be able to do. You can't look at someone with the expression of that was stupid. Like you have to be able to control that and do that facial expression at home. But make sure that you're listening to them. There's value in everything that someone is saying, and it's not stupid. They have feelings. They have, things that you need in this, especially in my position. I need to be listening to what they're saying. What happened? What's wrong? What do I need to take away from this conversation? What little pieces of this do I need to pull together because this may become a larger issue later on if I don't fix it while it's a small issue now. And so what might be, trivial to me is not to someone else. And so I have to be able to control this, while I'm having that conversation with someone.
Okay. Our next question is from Shahada.
Hi, so I just wanted to know if you have any tips or some advice for young women who are just starting their career in architecture about like how to navigate the professional practice world and, just, the different interactions you may have throughout the day.
Yeah. Um, One of the first things I would say as far as advice, I would say definitely join a profession. Like if you're in VA NOMA, that's awesome. Have lunch, have dinner, have different meetings with a group of women and or men from this setting outside of your office, because being able to have those partners, whether they're accountability partners or friends, you need to build that network of people who are going to encourage you, who are going to lift you up, who are going to, help you with your portfolio, your resume, all those different things, because it's unfortunate, but most of us within our daily work, we're we're challenged is a great word. We're challenged on a daily basis. Sometimes we are second guessed every step of the way. It just depends on what your profession is or what your role is at your particular job. All of that can be very taxing on you. It can be mentally exhausting, and you need a group of people around you who can re-energize you, who can help fill your cup, and who can help give you advice. Sometimes it's time to get out of wherever you are if it's becoming too taxing on you as a person, onto your body, onto your family. And those group of individuals who you've created and grown that network with and created those relationships with can tell you when it's time to get out, or can tell you or help you navigate through a different or a difficult situation. I think a lot of us, as far as like being in an office and different things of that, how we present ourselves, I, try to, like, my hair is straight today, but it's up in a bun. My hair sometimes is in two French braids. And so I think it is important that, I showcase the fact that I have natural hair, that I wear sneakers to work some days, and definitely on Fridays. I think it's important to just showcase that you can still be professional and not have to have on hard, flat shoes or heels. And so, you're going to have to find that atmosphere within an office that's also presenting that type of culture. But I say that to say that to be who you are within the office, don't change who you are to fit into a certain situation, or into a certain setting. Yes, we need to be professional. Maybe we can't talk the same way that we talk with our friends after work. But at the same time, we still need to make sure that we are bringing our own personality into the situation, into the table.
Well said. Uh, Fanola, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you so much. Um, and I just wanted to start off saying first, thank you, April, for your presentation and just sharing what you've been through and how you've gotten to where you are today. It's really impactful, especially seeing another woman of color like just succeeding in the realm of architecture. And I had two questions. One of them you actually already answered, but I came up with another one. But the first question is what were the mindsets you had to help you believe that you could be like a principal at an architecture firm?
I have no idea. Every day I struggle with whether or not I have what it takes to do this position.
Yeah.
Whether you call it imposter syndrome, um, you know, it can be a daily struggle, because again, you can be challenged every day, sometimes every hour. Again, I try to just remain positive. Every day is a new day. At the end of the day, I'm like, I survived. I survived today, and tomorrow is a new day, and I will try again tomorrow. Always learning from my mistakes. And when I say mistakes, it's more so the response that I may have had. Did I respond too quickly to something? Should I have taken a step back before I responded? Some of that I learned on project teams. And on my project teams, if I felt like I jumped too quickly or, acted too irrational or maybe just didn't think through it enough, I went back and apologized to my team members and would tell them. And I know people say you shouldn't say you're sorry in a profession all the time. But I think there are times where you do need to apologize to people and make sure that they realize that, you are learning and growing as well, and to give you grace, and that if you came off in a way that upset them or made them feel that they weren't, valued, that, that wasn't what was intended, and that you hope that they will give you a second chance to be the person that, you can be. And so I did that with one of my team members in the past. And she and I now have a great relationship, and I'm very thankful for that relationship, every day that she gave me that second chance to be that mentor that I knew that I could be, even though I messed up, and she gave me another chance.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the other question that I had was just for like me, I guess this is a me specific question, but it might help other people as well. Like I've always wanted to start my own firm one day, or like lead a firm. And I'm just wondering, what advice would you give to someone like me that's like just been out of college for 7 months and is still trying to navigate how to even, like, I guess, get to the dream job, but still enjoy like all the steps in between? And and like, how did you also get the mindset of like wanting to be a good leader? Because I feel like a lot of the stuff you talked about today, and how you just like see the people you work with and navigate different issues, like you just seem like someone that has learned how to be a really good leader. And not everyone, like, that's not everyone's experience of leadership in architecture.
Yeah, thank you for that. I take that as a compliment, because I feel like I've worked hard to do that, and that was something that I wanted to do. I mean, I've always been the do what I say and don't do what I do. Like I was saying before, I worked so many hours, and I always have, but I never wanted my team to feel like that was what they had to do in order to succeed. That if they could come up with a way to be more efficient with their time, that you didn't need to be here till 9 o'clock at night, or you don't need to get back on Saturday and Sunday. If you can just figure out a way to be a little bit more efficient with your time and do what I'm not doing, like show me the way. I'm looking at you to show me something different so that I can get out of here a little bit earlier, as well. But I've always been I think a people person. I've always just, loved to see other people succeed. And that has just always made me happy. I would say to you, as someone who is thinking about leading a firm or having your own firm one day, going through the steps now, every different firm that you may look to work at, make sure it is something that you are interested in doing. If you want to do healthcare, make sure you're at a firm that has healthcare. If you want to do federal, but also don't be closed off to other opportunities. I never thought I would do federal work or become basically someone who can run down different requirements of, secure facilities and things of that nature and become this level. But I was open to it when I came to HDR. I was open to the opportunities, I was open to this opportunity. It is sometimes having a goal, but having some flexibility within that goal as well, and not being afraid to take that risk and veer off just a little bit, just to see where it gets you. You're not going off the deep, off the cliff into some unknown. You're just opening up your world and possibilities to other, ways, other varying ways of, in different project types. Business is what I would tell you to also get into if you want to lead a firm. So now I'm getting into those numbers, those spreadsheets. I had always known how to do a work plan for my team, how many people I needed to complete the project, working at how many hours for how many months to get to the end goal. So I had that in my head already, or I had that as a skill. So that's a skill as a project architect you really need to understand. Is building is of a certain size, certain complexities, how many people are working at how many hours will it take me to get to the completed goal by September. So that's something as a project architect, but then the numbers, like truly understanding now, if I know those hours, what should that fee be? So maybe linking up with the project manager, really understanding, or principal, really understanding the numbers as well behind the scenes. And then even your principals from a marketing perspective. We don't realize, like, working in a firm, that someone else is out there chasing work. Someone else is out there bringing in that work. And you have to have that work coming in, especially if you're thinking about your own firm as well. And what are the strategies behind that as well? Like, what websites do they look at? What relationships are they developing with those outside clients? How are they doing that as well? And that will also, having those little pieces bring in, will make it much easier for you to sell yourself to someone to be that leader of that firm, or to then sell yourself to a client if you have your own.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much. That was a lot of
No
information,
problem.
but it was really good. So thank you.
Yeah, well said. I think unfortunately we're like coming to a close on our time. I maybe ask one more question. I think Taylor had a question.
I guess I lied about
Yeah,
letting
we
everybody
missed
out
your
at
we missed your
12:50,
50.
didn't I?
Yeah. But I think the difference is I think what you were talking about today is just so important to a lot of the people in this room. So I think that's why
Yeah.
we're here. But did Taylor have a question? Is she still
Um,
on?
yes, hi. Sorry about the background noise, but I was just curious, when you were studying to become a licensed architect, I was wondering if it was kind of difficult to obtain study materials, or were you like, was it easy to, I guess, like, pick out different materials that you needed to study?
No, when I was studying, it was 4.0, so we were using Kaplan and Ballast at that time. And so I knew someone who had a Ballast book and a Kaplan book, and it was hard copied, and I took that to a print shop and did it. And the other books, I had a lot of the other books from college. Today, I know that it's a little bit different with 5.0. I think Amber Book is one of the ones that, AIA Virginia and others are promoting as one. So it definitely can be a little bit different now than what it was before. I think we had different resources that made available to us when they were hard copies that are a little bit more difficult to share now that everything is online.
Yeah. There's a lot of online resources now. I will say, quick plug for us, like for VA NOMA, we do have an ARE series that's led by Joel. I think he's online. If he has anything to add to that, but
Yes, I am online. Thank you, Ian. I was gonna say, Taylor, yes, we have our ARE series. We do it once a month. We're gonna be kicking it off on April 9th. It is called Starting Your ARE Journey. So for those of you who are haven't taken the AREs yet and are familiar with the process, so we're starting that off, and then we'll every month we're gonna be doing one exam per month all the way till November. So just be on the lookout. We post signups on social media and our webpage. So please, it's 100% free. Join us, and we'll share materials and how to get them and how to access them. So we can be a great resource for
That's
you.
awesome.
thank you. Yeah.
And thank you very much, April, for doing our spotlight. I wanted to mention that it was very inspirational. I appreciate your hard work.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. Well, I think that was good segue to end. I don't have anything else to say. I'm just glad you're able to share your story with us, April, and answer a lot of questions. But yeah.
No, I didn't know I could talk that long. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever talked that long before at all. But no, I thank you all so much for having me. I know so many have left to go to their 1 o'clock meetings, but just appreciate the time and attention, and available to, if anyone wants to email or reach out to me, I'll definitely be around.
Cool. Thank you so much. This will be recorded, or it is recorded, so we'll post online for those who weren't able to
Sounds good.
attend and whatnot. So have a great week, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.